All right. So we are back. And so we're going to have a Notre Dame guy who runs a pretty successful YouTube channel on here in a few weeks on a Sunday night to talk about the big game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. His name's John Kennedy. He runs the Always Irish podcast, and he does a lot of live shows during the week. And I couldn't help myself. I get on there every now and then as an Ohio State fan and Joshua around with some of the Notre Dame people just for kicks and giggles. There's a lot of good people in there. They actually a lot of them have their heads screwed on right. They're pretty realistic. But I had to call in finally and talk to John. And so we're gonna run this short clip. It's about 12 minutes long or so. When we get back, we'll allow Chris to interject and give his feelings on whether I represented you all Buckeye Nation well enough in this interview. And of course, he wanted to talk about the fact that Notre Dame just got a brand new AD and what that means for them as far as their independence or whether or not they were going to be moving to the Big Ten or not. So he wants to talk to a little bit to me about that. He also wanted to talk about the big picture of college football and, of course, Ohio State as well. So you let me know if you think I represented you all in Buckeye Nation well as I call into the Always Irish podcast. Enjoy.
We'll get back into those. 740. You're going to be the first one up. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. John Kennedy. This is Eric Boggs, a.k.a. Buckeye Boggs from the OHIO podcast.
Yeah, I thought it might be. I saw that Ohio area code, and it doesn't have a big call history. I figured that might be where this is going. Now, I got a question for you. I'm getting messages. Hey, I'm getting messages here from a lot of Big Ten people telling me, John, this TV guy you're hiring and all this, it's all kind of pointing in one direction. A lot of Big Ten people think this is an indicator of things to come, that Notre Dame's leaning more that way. Do you see it that way from the outside, or how do you look at this situation?
It's going to come down to where his allegiance lies, John. Is he a Notre Dame guy, which it obviously looks like he is? I mean, he played for Lou Holtz, right? He played for Notre Dame, or is he more of an NBC guy? If he's more of a Notre Dame guy, John, you know he's going to want to stay independent.
Yeah,
that's the whole dream of all you guys, right?
And I do think he's on the record saying he values independence and all that, but that's always been Notre Dame's company line. And we all acknowledge that we want to do it. It's just that if circumstances change or the money or whatever. And so I don't know, but this guy's going to have some big decisions to make in his tenure. And the other thing is he's younger, and I do like that he's significantly younger than Swarbrick. And I'm hopeful that maybe he could bring some new ideas, some young energy, some more modern thought into all this. And that's something Notre Dame always needs. Just we're a little traditional in a lot of ways and not the most modern. So I don't know what to make of it. It's going to be interesting.
Follow the money. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's all big. It's a big business now, John. I mean, let's face it. It's all about the dollars and the cents. And if he can negotiate a contract for your university, for your football program that keeps you competitive with the Big Ten, with the SEC, then by all means, this was a tremendous hire for you guys.
Yeah.
If he's unable to do that, and he comes to the fan base and to your administrators and says, we're going to have to join a conference, then by all means, us Buckeye fans will welcome you Irish into the Big Ten family. And here's why. Because you guys despise the scum of the earth, just like we do, and that stinking team up north in the maize and blue. And if you hate them as much as we do, by all means, there's room for you in the Big Ten, my friend.
Yeah, hey, that's very, very well stated. And it's like, I don't always have the most comfortable relationship with all the Ohio State contingent, but on that topic, we are in lockstep, baby. On that topic, we are on the same page. And you do bring up a good point where you're asking, how much is this guy a Notre Dame guy and how much of him is an NBC TV guy? And the trick is, where it's so blended now. Those two are so married together. It's hard to tell where one thing ends and the other begins with all of that relationship. I do feel like Notre Dame's going to get a good TV deal now. This guy knows every angle. So I don't see any way Notre Dame accepts some dog deal, whatever it's going to be, because this guy knows all the angles.
Yeah, John, TV runs college football now.
Yep.
It runs it. Okay. So let's look at the recent hire from the Big Ten as far as the commissioner. He was a television guy, and he was brought in to clean up the mess that was left there from the previous commissioner, who couldn't sign his name on a contract and gave away rights of the Big Ten that weren't his to give away. So they had to bring in a television guy who understands the X's and O's behind the scenes when it comes to television rights and deals, and knows how to negotiate those things just to clean up that mess that he had made. So you're going to see much more of a move to the television side of things when it comes to business in college football. And it's literally because they have to bring in more revenue in order to keep this giant machine moving is NCAA football.
You're right. Because when you think of all the things that are involved, all the decisions, all the infrastructure, the resources, new facilities, whatever, modern luxuries for redoing the locker room, building a new football building that Brian Kelly's been trying to get done for a bunch of years. And there's no money for it, apparently, at fancy Notre Dame. There's no money for that. But none of that can really matter if you don't have the TV deal where you have enough money that you can work with and play with it. It all trickles down from that. So all of those other things you can't even really address unless you're in a comfortable position with that revenue stream. And that's why I think this makes a lot of sense. But this guy's very well-rounded, has a very unique history. It's just down the road, there's going to be tough decisions to be made, and we'll see how this guy navigates them. It's going to be really, really interesting. What's on your mind as far as Ohio State these days? How are you guys feeling about the summer and heading into the year? Fill me in.
Yeah, so as far as over here in Buckeye land, man, it is very 50-50. We know we've got really good players. We've recruited well. There's depth at a lot of really good positions. However, I think it was Joel Klatt said it best. Ohio State is built to win national championships. Michigan is built to beat Ohio State. And that has been so true the last couple of years.
Yep.
We've got better recruits. We got better players. We're built to win on a fast track. I mean, we had Georgia beat as well. Even though they talk trash all they want with us, they know we had them beat. And then things kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter. This team, over the past 4 or 5 years under Ryan Day, following the Urban Meyer era, is built to beat SEC teams, or at least compete at the highest level. Where we get beat is in old-fashioned smash mouth football up front.
Yep.
And we're going to have 3 new starting offensive linemen. We looked terrible in spring ball offensively. At the spring game, it didn't matter who was behind center. Of course, we'll have a new quarterback, but it doesn't matter who was behind center. The man had no time to throw the football. Less than 2 seconds, and he was either getting rid of the football or was scrambling for his life because there were leaks all over the front line, and we weren't even rushing. It was just a 4-man rush, and they were dominating our offensive line. Now, does that mean our defensive line is going to return to the national championship caliber that we've expected over the years? Maybe. We've recruited very well there. But that offensive line looked terrible. Now, that's the first one. Number 2, can we have a good quarterback? Who's it going to be? Kyle McCord, Devin Brown? A lot of us are leaning to McCord. He was a 5-star recruit. Can he manage the offense? We're not expecting a CJ Stroud type of quarterback here, but can he be good enough to manage the offense, spread the football around, get the football in the hands of our dynamic playmakers? We've had the best wide receivers room for 3-4 years now, and that's not going to change with Marvin Harrison Jr., Mecca Buka, and his buddies. So Can he get them the football? Does he have enough time to give them the football?
Yeah,
and then defensively, can we take that next step? Those are the three areas we're looking at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially if you have a younger quarterback like that, but you have all that skill, speed, and talent. It's like, I don't need you to be a hero, but you just need to do enough to get the ball to them guys, and the offensive line needs to do their part. Just get it to them guys, and let them do the rest. You know, like, you don't have to be a hero. Make the right reads, get the ball to your talent, let them run real fast. And then
exactly.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. However, here's what's interesting about this, and maybe a difference between the way you guys operate and the way Notre Dame's been operating recently is Notre Dame has one of those young guys, and then it's always like, well, we're going to lean on the run game and the tight end. Like, that's a Notre Dame-y thing. We're going to lean on that run game, and that's kind of the focus and all that, and a way to work in a young quarterback or whatever. You guys have so much talent on the outside. It makes sense to me that you don't want to get conservative and you want the guy to sling the ball around because that's where your best talent is. That's a little bit of a difference. Am I right or wrong on that? Or are you guys going to try and lean on the run more to ease a young guy in? But then you're not maximizing that talent on the outside, which is elite. So how are you guys going to approach that?
John, this is as much as we have recruited so well at the quarterback and wide receiver position, really ever since Urban Meyer kind of stepped in and changed the recruiting ideology at Ohio State from being regional to coast. The problem is there's always this shadow of Woody Hayes over Ohio Stadium who says 3 yards is a cloud of dust, boys. And so there's always this philosophy in this fan base: if we ain't running, we ain't winning. And, you know, it's been kind of a hard transition for the fan base to realize that we're going to be throwing the football as much as we are. And it's starting to kind of take over a little bit as the fan base gets a little bit younger, where, hey, we're exciting to watch offensively, all of those things. But here's the thing. Ryan Day, I don't think he can. I don't know if he has the ability to turn that page of the playbook and say, I'm going to run to open the pass. I don't think he can do that. He's a former quarterback. He loves to sling the football around. When we were in the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern 4 or 5 years ago, we were dominating on the ground, and yet he did not go to the run game until the second half when he had no other options, because he wants to run, or he wants to pass the football so much.
Yeah.
And if you can force him to run, we've got talented backs. We've got great interior offensive line. We should get a great push up front when it comes to that. But this gap scheme run game, it's hit or miss. And oftentimes I feel like he wants to spread out defenses and use his quarterback brain that he has. And he's a great play caller, but man, I'm telling you, sometimes it's frustrating because we're yelling, run the ball. It's 3rd and 1 and we're going 4 wide. What are we doing? This is Ohio State here.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's going to get interesting for you guys, especially depending on what happened, obviously with our game, but then with Michigan as well. And to see which way that goes. Again, we're a long ways from that. And I'm sure a lot of this we'll cover when I join you guys and get into more depth about all this, and specifically our game together as well. Anything else, my friend? I appreciate the call.
Yeah, I don't want to take up any more time from all your Notre Dame fans. I just wanted to thank you so much for allowing me to be on and for entertaining me. I'm excited to have you on the 25th on a Sunday evening. It's going to be a lot of fun as we preview the next season. Keep up the good work, John. And whether you join the Big Ten or not in my lifetime, it's been fun having this home and home with you guys the last couple of years. Reminded me of my childhood from the 90s. those were great games growing up, watching Eddie George run all over you.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget him too. But yeah, thanks a lot, my friend. It'll be fun. I'm excited to join. Hop over to your platform and take the heat the other way, the way our guys give you some here. So have a good weekend, my friend. Thanks for the call.
Take care. Enjoy your vacation, my man.
Thank you. Take care now. Oh, man. Yeah, people are calling it always Bucknut. These guys love their football. And for some reason, Ohio State people like my show more than some other shows because I end up with I got a handful of good followers now that are actually nice people.
There it is.
There it is. I'll tell you, Eric, my first thought is I don't know that I've ever seen him that calm. Normally, when I've seen the videos, he's a little hyped up. He's got something to say. In fact, right before you came on, he had a little something to say to a caller.
Yeah.
to a listener, yeah.
Larry says, we are fortunate and blessed to have the Buckeyes being an annual powerhouse. If we were in Indiana, Notre Dame would be our best hope for success. And for many years, they were near the top. Here's what's funny about Notre Dame and Indiana. I've done quite a bit of work in Indiana. I was just there this week. Indiana is very split between the Hoosiers and Purdue.
Yeah.
You don't see hardly any Irish fans in central and southern Indiana. They're either all up north or they're spread out over the country.
And the funny thing is, if you go up to northern Ohio even, you get a lot of Notre Dame fans in northern Ohio. And if you go over to Illinois, over in the Chicago area, you get a lot of Notre Dame fans over in that area. But yeah, I'll tell you, first of all, I think that your friend John there, I think he's got some concerns about their independence.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't come right out and say it, but you could tell by the hesitation and how often he kept saying he's going to have a big decision to make soon.
Mm-hmm.
He's worried about that independence.
It all comes down to the television contract deal for them.
And I think you touched on it brilliantly. You said it just like my sociology professor used to say it all the time when we were talking about something. It'd be follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to. And they're bringing this guy in to get the best contract they can get for now. And they're hoping they can get at least one more. I think they're hoping they can get at least one more good deal in before they have to join a conference.
Let me know in the comments real fast before we close out the show. Did I represent you well? Do you feel like I did a good job? Chris, what do you think? Did I represent Buckeye Nation well?
I think you did, Eric. I think you were very realistic of expectations. Shared very real concerns that I think all of us have going into the season. I think you hit it on the nose that it hurts Ryan Day to the thought of running the football actually causes him physical pain. I think you were spot on with everything. I really do. I can also say I can't wait to have John on the show because he just seems like he's going to be a lot of fun to have on the show. When we are actually talking about the game itself, I feel like it's going to get a little crazy.
Yeah. Paul Buckeye says, great job, Buckeye Boggs. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Donald Hoffer. Eric, you were too nice. You should have poked the bear a tad more. Hey, I did get him at the end there. I did get him at the end there when I'm talking about Eddie George in the 90s because he's about my age, I think. So yeah, that probably pained him just like it was a great success and a great memory for my childhood. But seriously, he is a lot calmer with you than he was a lot calmer with me because I didn't come in there with trying to
you didn't have an attitude.
No, I didn't have an attitude. I was there to have fun and just talk football with them.
Yeah.
And when he's on here, we will bring up some topics that I know he's passionate about. Not to hurt him or try to push his program down. Just I want you all to have the John experience, okay? The John Kennedy experience. That's what we're going to call that show. The John Kennedy. I've already got a box of Lucky Charms ready to go with his face on the leprechaun.
Wow.
I might eat leprechaun. I might eat a little bit of Lucky Charms during that interview, just to poke him, like that meme of Eddie of Ezekiel Elliott.
And let me tell you, anybody who doesn't think that you're serious about this, I remember you telling me how much you loved this when we were coming back from our live show in Pittsburgh last year. You were trying to find it on the radio, I believe, then to bring it up to play for me, but we couldn't get it for some reason. But yeah,
Yeah, this guy's been a lot of fun to uh, to follow. So, um, yeah, it was the first time I've ever called into another show. Now I remember, and gosh, we're in overtime again, Chris. We're going to start a trend here if we're not careful. Um, I remember growing up, and my dad would listen to AM talk radio in the evenings when we'd be out somewhere waiting on somebody or whatever, and you'd get the people who would call in to the talk radio.
yeah,
And of course, that never happens anymore. You can hardly call in to any sports talk anymore unless you're like doing the Jim Rome show and he
yeah,
says, "Have a take and don't suck." Right? That's Jim Rome. Um, and I never got to have that experience, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna call in and talk to the guy, especially since I know he's gonna be coming on our show.
yeah.
So, and he had talked about bringing me on as a guest, and I thought I'm just gonna surprise him and call him and see how that goes. So I thought it went pretty
You
well.
didn't
So
seem too surprised when we saw 740 pop up.
it's probably not an area code he sees very often.
I'm gonna bet not.
Oh, so yeah, Larry Daniel says, "Well done, Eric. Likely Notre Dame will be steered into the conference by the TV folks." I think so.
Yeah,
I think NBC might just make it happen. In all honesty, he goes, "I hope they jump into the Big Ten," says Paul Buckeye. OH. Yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance it's going to happen. So we could see that. Hey, go to over his YouTube channel, Always Irish. Make sure you check that out. If you ever want to just, he does more than just talk Notre Dame. Although that it's like us, very much. We're Ohio State driven, but we do touch on college football in general and some of the topics of college football. And he's the same. Yes, Chris, go ahead.
So, do you think that they'll get three protected rivalries? They'll get one with us, one with Michigan, and one with Michigan State. Because
They'll
Michigan, and Michigan State, and what about USC? And
they'll get USC. They'll get USC, and then they'll get one others. Let's say if they bring Stanford along.
yeah.
I don't think they'll protect Michigan for them because they're not playing Michigan every year now.
Although they do hate them.
Yeah, they do. That's right. That's why we want to take them on.